Hi, I'm Brian at WVGamers. I'm continuing a video series I started earlier this summer where I basically started a upgrade process with our network. Now obviously anyone who watches our videos knows that we typically do more game reviews than anything, but I decided since I was already doing an upgrade to our network anyways and I was already unboxing new stuff, why not have fun and do something that's kind of in my field of expertise anyways, which is techie stuff. Now, I will not claim to be a network engineer, like expert. I'm more of a tinkerer in that field. I'm more of a programmer and stuff like that. But this has been a fun process for me, kind of upgrading from just kind of a miscellaneous assortment of networking equipment that I picked up on eBay over the course of 10 years to finally something that's more a single like a uniformed series of devices. I'm trying to not say the brand name yet, but basically trying to do something that's a little easier to manage, has a central website that I go to manage everything, and is just kind of, gives me a little more functionality than having a random switch of this brand, having a random switch of this brand, and trying to piece it all together. So, earlier this summer, I'd switched over to a Unifi Dream Machine Pro, which is basically the brains of my network. That basically allowed me to connect to my HP Pro Curve, 48 port switch to kind of connect to everything, and the Dream Machine allowed me to do a number of different things on my network, such as unifying the Wi-Fi, because I also upgraded to their Wi-Fi 6 access points, and basically allowed me to have a central place to manage that. I also picked up a little smart plug that allows me to, actually it allows it to notice when there's no network connection and reboot my modem to basically allow me to not have to go behind my rack, try to unplug everything and reset everything. Because we all have had consumer grade modems. They flake out. Sometimes you just have to reboot them. So anyways, I've been kind of just waiting for the right time to get the additional pieces for the network, waiting for stock to come back in, because anyone who's buying anything tech related knows that stock is kind of iffy these days. So I finally got to order this, which is the 48 port Pro switch. Now this does not have power over Ethernet for any of those types of devices. I just decided the extra hundreds of dollars wasn't worth it for what few devices I have or may have. At some point I may just get a small switch to do PoE stuff, but for my home purposes, this is going to be perfect. So what this has is, let's see, over here is 4 SFP plus ports. Basically, this is going to allow 10 gigabit networking. Now, obviously, for internet, I'm not going to have any hope of ever seeing that here in West Virginia. But what that will allow me to do is have 10 gig on my local network. What I plan to do with that is setting up a NAS, which is a, oh god, network array storage. Oh god, why did I forget suddenly? Network attached storage. Anyways, and have that connect to this over 10 gig and have my computer connected over 10 gig, because my new computer I built has a 10 gig built in, so yay. The reason that's going to be nice is then I can store all my video footage, such as this one, on the NAS and do all my editing right off of that, rather than having to copy files back and forth and go through that whole process. I also have a couple servers that I'd like to connect through 10 gig instead, just because to say I can. So that's what these are going to be for, and I also have another device I'm going to talk about here in a second. And then we have our 48 ports of 1 gig Ethernet. That's just kind of standard these days, but it's all in one nice device rather than having to have multiple switches to give me all that. Now, I'm probably only going to end up using about 30 to 35 of those initially, especially since I'm going to be switching a lot of my servers that have multiple Ethernets that go into my current switch. I'm going to switch those over to 10 gig, so then I only have one cable and whatnot. But so the other thing that this has is it has a little screen over here, so whenever I hook it up, there's going to be a little display that I can get like quick shots of, you know, network status and various health stats. I can also reboot right from here rather than have to log in and not having to reach behind and unplug. On the back side, kind of not too much exciting here. Here is your standard power plug that your computers and your monitors, most devices use. That's that. And then over here is a special port. It's their Unifi RPS, which is redundant power system. It's basically their brand of sort of a UPS, but it's all controlled, again, through the Dream Machine if you have one. So you can kind of control reboots and stuff like that. So I don't know if I'll ever get one of those. I am starting to get enough devices to maybe almost justify it, but the cords themselves are like, to hook to this are a little expensive, and then the battery itself is expensive, so I don't know if I'll ever actually get it. But so this is going to replace my HP Pro Curve switch that I bought off eBay. That's probably 10 years old at this point. I bought it when it was probably 5 years old. So looking forward to finally getting this in place. What will also be nice is the Unifi devices also have an augmented reality feature that you can use your phone, and as long as you've configured it all correctly, you'll scan that little screen and it'll have like a sort of like their brand of a QR code, and it'll now know what switch you're looking at, and then you can just hover over each of the different ports on the switch, and over top of it will be a label or an image of whatever is hooked to it. That's where you'll have to configure it a little more, but that's great for whenever you're trying to figure out, oh, what's in that port. Now you should have a list of what's on each of your ports anyways, but that's a nice little feature that when you don't have the sheet of paper or don't have the document open, you just go, oh, okay, that's the port I'm looking for, and it's really nice. I've played around with a little bit, but until I've gotten this one, I haven't really got to do much with it, because I only have 8 ports on the Dream Machine Pro, so I haven't really utilized that too much. The second thing I got, to be honest, I got only because it was on sale at a micro center that I happened to be traveling by. This is the Unifi Link Aggregation Switch. This is the 8-port model. Basically, this has 8 SFP plus ports on it, which basically allows you to, hook various switches and devices into that. Now, again, not a network expert, but my understanding of what I've used link aggregation for in the past, there's 2 primary benefits of it. You could either, one, if you have multiple Ethernet coming out or multiple connections coming out of a single device, such as a NAS, let's say you have 2 1 gig connections coming out, so you're just standard Ethernet. You could plug those both into a single switch and use link aggregation to make those 2 single connections a single 2 connection. 2 gigabit connection. And the good thing about that is it increases your throughput to allow you to transfer data a little bit faster than what the one cable would normally allow. And that scales quite well. I know the Synology NASs, some of them have like 4 ports, so you can link them all together and get 4 gigs of throughput. Now obviously there's some degradation there because it's not exactly perfect as compared to a single cable, but it does increase your throughput. The second, and probably more useful in most cases, is the redundancy. So if you have 2 plugs coming out of a device and one of those fails, if you have the second in there, then you're not going to lose your entire connection. So the redundancy is probably a little more important. Now for me, I personally got this, again, because it was open box at a micro center. It was like 30 or 40% off, so it was a good buy. When I got this about a month or 2 ago. I hadn't even gotten around to ordering the 48 port switch I was just talking about for those extra SFPs. So this was my solution to be able to hook my computer and eventually a NAS and maybe the servers all together. Technically, with the 48 port switch that I have now, I don't absolutely need it. I'm probably still going to use it anyways because I bought it, might as well. It has the same screen on the front, so you can get the same bit of info up here as the other 2 Unifi devices. The back only has the standard power plug. It's a little disappointing that it doesn't have the redundant power. I'm not sure if the higher level, like the larger switches of this type of link aggregation with more ports has it or not. That was the only thing I was a little disappointed about. I would probably be more inclined to consider the RPS if it had it, but as is, even with my 2 devices, I only have 2 devices that would hook up to it, and the RPS technically supports 6, I believe, so I don't know if I'll actually get it, but that's the two new devices that I'm really excited to kind of get integrated into my network. And it's going to be nice because if this 48 port switch is anything like the Dream Machine is nearly silent. I don't know if I ever hear it. I always hear my 48 port Pro curve switch. It's very, very loud. I've even replaced the fans in it. It's still very loud. I got a blinking light telling me there's some kind of fan error. I'm not sure if when I switch the fans around, it's blowing the wrong direction because there's 3 and I think 2 are ins and 1's out. I don't know. I'm trying to find it and I can't really find a good solution or good answer for that. So it'll just be nice to pull that out and put this one in. Now the only thing, now the aggregation switch, nice and small, compact, has no problems going into the rack. This is the same size as the Dream Machine Pro, so quite a large little switch here. I've seen larger in actual enterprise, but my current rack is just one of those 12 units or 12U wall-mounted racks with the walls and the glass door and stuff. It just barely fits the Dream Machine, so luckily this is the same size, so I expect it'll fit this one as well. But I really need to kind of find some of those power plugs at a right angle to make these a little bit cleaner. But anyways, that's the only thing I'm foreseeing going to be a little bit of a challenge. Oh yeah, I haven't showed what's in this box. This box comes with all the Unifi devices. Usually it's just a little different per device depending on what it is. But basically get your power plug, you get this little white box, and then you get the little rack ears. So the little rack ears go onto the side, just like this. They just screw on there, and then you can screw these into your rack and whatnot. So those are the rack ears, and then in these little kits, pretty much all of these come with the same standard types of things. You'll get some rack bolt or cage nuts, the screws for those. These are the screws to go the ears onto the actual device. And then if you chose not to rack mount and you chose to just put it on a desk, these are just little feet. So that's the cute little things that come in that. And that's basically it. This probably will be the last major components that I have been kind of waiting for. So once I get these all installed and configured, probably I'll do another follow-up video sometime probably in the next month or so. Since I've already been using the Dream Machine, this should integrate with hardly any problem. Just take me a little time to configure each of the different devices that are hooked to it. Hopefully the Dream Machine will just port that type of stuff over because it'll see the MAC addresses, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm really excited about this. I've been really wanting to do this for a couple years now. I've been looking at the Unifi stuff. So far, I've been pretty happy with the Dream Machine. I did have one kind of bad update that kind of messed some things up briefly, but they came out with another update and it fixed it. It wasn't anything that kept my network down, but it did prevent me from going onto my phone and being able to do some changes to the settings. It's minor, but at least they're patching. So that's more than what I can say about my Pro Curve switch, which is, again, 10 years old. Its last update was like 2017 or something. So I'll be happy to have something that's modern. So I will do a follow-up video. I'll show you what's in the rack, how I've racked everything together. At some point, I'm hoping to completely renovate that closet because there's like 2 closets together like an L, but there's a wall in between. Hoping to rip that wall out, rip the ceiling out that's in there, increase it from like a 6-foot ceiling out to a 9-foot ceiling because that's what our walls are here. So I can do a lot more with it. And I also have a half rack, a 21U rack. I think it's 21U. I don't know what size it is. In my garage that's just been sitting there for a couple years waiting to be in use, but it just doesn't fit in the current closet. So hopefully we'll do some more fun stuff. Again, we're mostly about board games and video games here, but this is kind of just a little passion project for me that I decided why not go ahead and document the whole process. And hopefully for some people, seeing some of the components we've chose will help answer some questions. I have seen on some of my other devices videos, some people have been pretty happy because there was no AC Infinity fan, the Cloud Plate 5, whichever one I have. There weren't videos over that, so now I was able to provide that. So that's kind of the hope. Now, Unifi has tons of videos, so I don't think there's going to be as much benefit. You're probably going to go to better channels, but thank you if you did make it this far, and we'll see you later. I've been Brian with WVGamers.